Now, in addition to a retail menu, the menu concept, or option selling psychology as we would refer to it, also applies to a cash deal. What we're looking at here is a cash payment menu option. The difference is the customer will not make 60 or 72 payments, they're going to be making one payment. Now, when a customer comes in, you introduce yourself the same way, you congratulate him on his purchase, you thank him for doing business, you explain to him what it's going to take for a one-time payment to purchase an automobile, then you explain to him that there's certain repayment options. And under option number one, in the case of a cash deal, you're going to present the available products. You can present a vehicle service contract, equity protection, which we refer to as the theft rider or window etching, and the tire and wheel road hazard. This would give the individual a one-time payment of $22,994 over his base payment of $21,200. Move to option number two, tell him it's the same as one, but we won't protect the wheels and tires for 5 years, but his repayment is $22,599. Move to option number three, tell him it's the same as two, but we're not going to give him the theft protection. In the event of theft, he won't receive the $5,000 to protect his vehicle, but his one payment now is $22,300. If we're going to sell the individual on buying a service policy on a cash deal, it's easier to get a gentleman to cut a check for $22,300 versus $21,200. When you're already writing a check for $20,000 and something, it doesn't seem extremely different, $21,200 to $21,300. But try talking to the individual about just writing a check for $1,500, and it's versus paying nothing or $1,500, it's a lot more money. Menu selling works for a cash deal as well. You need to get in the role play with the customer. The concept is to put all the available products in front of the customer and then step them down and give him lower and lower payments. Hopefully in the last one, he's at minimum bought a vehicle service policy. This will greatly add to your penetrations in the area of service contract. We'd encourage you to, when you track your numbers from an F&I performance standpoint, look at what you're doing per car on a cash deal, not just a finance deal. From there, you can get into a lease menu options. For the most part, we're in many cases not going to have a service contract as a viable option. If the gentleman's buying a car that's got a 36,000 mile warranty and he's doing a 3-year lease with 12,000 miles a year, let's not waste any time trying to figure out how to sell the guy a service contract, okay? But in most cases, a customer driving 15,000 miles a year on a 3-year lease is going to have 45,000 miles a year at the end of 3 years on a car that only had a 36,000 mile warranty. That leaves a mechanical gap. It's a time in which he's exposed to any and all mechanical repairs, and he will be responsible to pay for those repairs when it's time to turn the vehicle in. So in option number one in a lease, we provide life and disability. It's pretty affordable on a lease, and many times we overlook the affordability of life and disability. When you're doing a lease, you're doing a 2-year or a 3-year lease, think about the fact that you're on half the term as a normal finance contract, and also you have removed the residual value, so you're protecting a lot lower dollar amount. In many cases, it could cost a customer $8, $9, $10 a month to add life and disability on a lease, depending on the loan balances. It's a pretty affordable product. However, what we lose sight of on a lease is the value of GAP. Now, many leases provide GAP. Therefore, in the menu, we won't be presenting GAP on any lease that it's already provided, but we will point out to the customer that GAP is a benefit of the leasing, and in having the GAP, he will not be responsible for the deficit at time of loss. That's the difference between what he owes and what the vehicle is worth at the time of loss, and that's been provided by the lease manufacturer. But by pointing that out, you brought to light another factor. If two people are on this lease and the primary debtor dies, 6 months into a lease with 10,000 miles on a vehicle, or 8,000, whatever the mileages are, and the primary debtor dies and the co-buyer comes back in because A, they don't need the vehicle, and B, they can't afford the vehicle, they're going to find themselves owing more on the vehicle than it's worth, and it's going to be difficult for that individual to get out of the lease. That is a gap in the value. So by having the life and disability at an affordable number, again, we're talking about half the loan balance in many cases and half the term, calculate the life and disability, look how it affects their payments. It's pretty affordable. Mechanical gap is what we refer to a service contract on a lease. And as I mentioned earlier in the statement, mechanical gap is the difference between the mileage at the time of the warranty expiration and the mileage at the time of the lease expiration. Tire and wheel is a product that is very available on a lease. Again, customers are responsible for any and all repairs when they turn that vehicle in, and tire and wheel is an expensive repair. The theft protection is a viable product on a lease. At $199, it's pretty affordable. Those are the products: life, disability, mechanical gap, tire and wheel, theft protection. Put a menu together on a lease, which we have structured, and present to the customer just like you would on a retail or just like you would on a cash, the products and services that are available to protect themselves based on the loan structure, whether it's finance, whether it's cash, whether it's lease.